Well, welcome to Midweek Minute today. It's great to have you aboard and listening in. Recently, I've been doing some reading and studying and even some preaching and teaching in the book of 1 Peter. If you haven't ever read it, I would encourage you to do so. It's in the New Testament. It's not a very long letter that he writes to these believers, but it's powerful stuff. Very applicable for our day. The subject of this book is suffering. In fact, Peter is writing to a bunch of Christians that are going through a tremendous struggle, and they're being persecuted for their faith. In fact, some of them anyway are at the place where they're thinking, what's the use? Maybe we should just give up on this. And of course, Peter hears of this, so he writes this letter of encouragement to these believers in the midst of their struggle. A letter of encouragement and inspiration. And basically what he is doing above encouraging and inspiring them, he's talking about their attitude, their behavior. How should they respond to this? How should they endure and continue to live in victory and in gladness for Christ? I'd like to direct your attention to chapter 4. And again, there's a lot in this, but just one comment about it. Now, one of the ways that they are to respond, Peter says, is it says here in chapter 4 and verse 1. Let me read it for you. Therefore, since Christ suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves with the same mind. In other words, Jesus is saying, I'm your example. And of course, as Christians, he is our example. And of course, we know as we study his life that he did suffer for us. In fact, he gave his life on the cross for us. But even more than that, he is saying, have the mind that I have. Now, what was the mind of Christ? The mind of Christ was to do the will of the Father, to please him. And no matter what comes to our life, that should be our mindset, to do the will of God and to please him. In fact, it says in Matthew, the very words of Jesus, he says in Matthew chapter 6, verse 33, that we are to seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and then all the things that we need will be added on to us. And so we are to make the will of God the utmost important thing in our life. And of course, as we do that, we are going to be living contrary to the world around us, and we are going to receive some opposition. And this will affect our attitude, our thoughts, and of course, our behavior. And the way we're to respond is the way that Christ did, in love and to be a lover of those around us. There's much more to it, and I think you will get it as you read it. The whole book, just those few short chapters, but especially in chapter 4. God bless you. Have a great day, and thanks for joining us.